Hi, it's Dan Sowden and welcome to this month's edition of the Gavel, where we talk all things property and of course auctions. Now, as the RBA continues to lift interest rates with the primary view to curb inflation, there is more than ever some strong public interest in how these rising rates may affect the property market. Now, the reason why there is so much interest in interest rates is that the Australian property market is valued at a little higher than $8.1 trillion. It represents 4 times the size of Australia's GDP, or gross domestic product. So in terms of Australia's financial system, the property market is absolutely significant. Now, the media has zoned in on auction clearance rates to provide a bit of an indication as to the strength of the property market. Now, it's not uncommon to see articles highlighting that clearance rates are falling, and maybe so too is the market. But is this the reality? So let's recap on what actually a clearance rate is, how it is reported, and what story do clearance rates tell. Firstly, auction clearance rates by definition is the percentage of auctions sold from the time of listing up until including the day of auction itself. It does not include post-auction sales. This is referred to as success rates. Secondly, auction rates nationally are reported via call centres who ring the agents and ask for what happened on the auction day. So commonly, this publicised data only includes what happens on the day and does not include any pre-auction sales, and only relates to information that's reported by the agent. So commonly, it's underreported. So what story can clearance rates tell? So for a property sale to occur, there simply needs to be 2 willing parties that agree on price, a seller and a buyer. Now, as markets move up or down, the demand for buyer and seller changes. So for example, as interest rates rise, buyer demand falls as it becomes more expensive and may be a little difficult to obtain credit. The logical thought is to say, well, maybe prices would fall as a result. But this may not be the case in all market segments. We are already starting to see a good number of sellers today simply opting not to sell their property and instead rent out their home as an investment. We should remember that the Australian government pumped in over $291 billion worth of financial support into the Australian economy on the back of COVID, which has filtered all its way through the economy. This has allowed for loans to be paid and saving levels across the country to be at an all-time high. So some property owners may be in a stronger position than they've ever been. So even though a seller withdrawing their home from the market may seem as a failed auction, it actually has no bearing on property values. So let's take a closer look at clearance rates. Now, within our Ray White network, we publish all our data in our Ray White quarterly market monitor here across the coast. So here are some numbers. In September 21, for that quarter, our clearance rate was 77%. In the December quarter of 21, our clearance rate was 74%. In the March quarter, it was 61%. And in the June quarter of 22, the clearance rate was 56%. It is evident that we've seen a change in clearance rates from the late 70s down to the mid 50s over the last 12 months or so. What we've also noticed is that the success rates that include the post-auction sales have remained really high, and sometimes in the high 90% range throughout the same period. This tells that even though the clearance rates have come off a little, buyers are still active in the market and turnover remains consistent, with transactions being completed in the days or weeks after the auction itself. Now, as a buyer, my advice, it's easy to get caught up in all the hype that comes with a market that may be seemingly moving back in your favour. Where we should be reminded that to actually buy a home, you need a seller that is prepared to sell. And just because the media may be saying one thing, it doesn't mean that the same seller will accept anything less for their property just because it's offered. Now, best of luck if you're out and about in the coming weekends. We have an incredible selection of some 71 properties, over $100 million worth of real estate going to auction on Sunday, the 25th of September at Mercedes-Benz Sunshine Coast. Make sure you stop in and check out all the action from 10 a.m. See you next time.